Good afternoon, everybody. This is Gabriel Garcia. Many of you know me as the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill, and welcome back to a much overdue audiobook episode of the story of Michael. Now, we left off, Michael brought about the end of the world, and now he has to deal with the ramifications of his actions. So, as a result, let's dive right in to Chapter 4, Aftermath. Age of Elamaya. Present day. In a small village in the Irish countryside, locals go about their daily routine. Even after the world plunges into chaos and darkness, there are still small beacons of life around the globe. Here in Vitrum, the people try to bring back a sense of normality. Vitrum is a small town centered around a local church led by Abbot Ambrose O'Domanahalian. The people refer to him simply as Ambrose. In truth, Ambrose is not even a real abbot. He was a former soldier in the Irish Brigade during the fallout many years ago. After surviving, he gathers up a few survivors and establishes their hovel, which is far from the activity of others. With the help of his close friends, Colum O'Carrigan and Fiona Mehic Cordian, the three manage to bring back some hope to the people. Though he becomes a man of the cloth, Ambrose has not forgotten his soldier roots. He and his friends will give up their lives to protect Vitrum. To many, Ambrose is a large man with red hair and small red scruff patches around his face. He's built like a tree, with powerful shoulders, arms, and legs. His eyes are blue, with a small scar across his left cheek. Colum is built the same, but much shorter, and has brown hair, with amber eyes. As for Fiona, she is tall and lean, with long blonde hair and green eyes like emeralds. Currently, the three friends are preparing for today's service. And two people are all they are missing. Colum, can you please go get Barjon? We're about to begin today's service, says Fiona. Setting down the last chair, Colum goes to Barjon's room. Entering the small chambers, the young friar saw their robed friend writing at his desk. He's a regular man, though covered in strange tattoos and scars. He has short black hair, with brown eyes scanning over his work. As he finishes his last sentence, he placed his pen down before turning his head. Good morning, Colum, said Barjon. Morning to you as well. We're about to begin today's service. I'll be out in a few. Let me get Margret. As the young friar leaves, Barjon gathers his belongings and looks for Margret. Exiting outside the church, he enters the parish gardens, which house an array of decorative flowers. Walking through the small garden, he notices Margret sitting beside a rose bed. It's time to come in. We're about to begin service, said Barjon. Getting up, the young girl turns around. Margret had grown these past few years. She's tall and lean, her eyes a darker shade of green than before, and her hair is cut short and wrapped in a tiny bun. She still puts beads in her hair and wears purple shoes. As for her beloved doll, she still has him in her room in the church as a reminder of her past. Accompanied by Barjon, the two head back inside the church and await Mass. Sitting at the very end of the room, they watch and listen to Ambrose's service. To the people of their community, he is the light in the darkness, and many find comfort in his words, as he always makes things seem better. While listening to the service, Barjon begins hearing a soft voice whispering in his ear. At first he brushes it off, then he hears the voice again, this time a loud whisper. He turns his head around, but only sees a wall behind him. I must be hearing things, he said to himself. Are you, Michael? asked the voice. Barjon feels his body tense up. He's not heard that name for some time now. His breathing pauses while his heart beats fast in his chest. Margret places a hand on his shoulder. Are you all right? She asked. Michael looks and nods his head to her. Yeah, I'm fine, he replied. Taking a deep breath, he lets out a sigh of relief and continues watching the service. After the sermon, Ambrose thanks the townspeople for coming to church and wishes everyone another blessed day. With everybody leaving the parish, Colum and Fiona approach their friend about plans for today. We have to make another supply run, Ambrose. We're running low on medicine, said Fiona. I agree. What are the options? Well, what Blackridge? asked Fiona. Erected to the far end of the isle along the coast, bordering mineral-rich mountains to the south and a vast forest to the east, the settlement of Blackridge was originally home to humans led by former royal knight Faulkner. It was not built on the island by accident, of course, and had ancestral ground essential to the people and its initial success. Deep in Black Ridge woods were hidden caves containing relaxing, bubbling hot springs. And as for the town, it looked imposing. Despite living in stone dwellings, all the roofs were covered by copper, an unusual choice, and for protection against bandits and other forces, an ironwood wall surrounded the town in a U shape. Inside Blackridge, its main attraction was a library, a structure carved from a single stone, built 55 years ago, and designed by the fair folk. The biggest export was its masterful engineers, hired by other towns and settlements in the area. The money they incurred went into its local medicines, herbs, and remedies. However, Blackridge's economy worsened when an unknown sickness took hold of the city, and most of its workforce fell ill. Hoping to ease his people's suffering, Faulkner invoked the names of the ancient Celtic gods for salvation. A savior did come, but he was no saint. Instead, this figure forced the people to sell their souls to him for salvation. Before they realized it, they had sold their souls to a necromancer, a sorcerer specializing in dark magic. Lucifer sent out these sorcerers to subdue any human colony that was still free. True to his word, Blackridge survived, but the people were no longer free. Instead, they and their kings are undying followers loyal to Lucifer. They now work in the mountains, harvesting the minerals for Lucifer's war machine. Colum shook his head. Blackridge is too dangerous. He said, Cussingham is abandoned as well. Cussingham was a neighboring village near Blackridge, but it was quickly destroyed. What about Solaris and the Ash Valley? Inquired Margret. Stationed at the top of a field, the township of Solaris is home to the gnomes led by director Tontok. Bordering between a canal to the north and a fjord to the south, Solaris' abundance of wildlife and success is of great importance to its people. And as far as the eye could see, the landscape is quite gorgeous, never-ending fields of green, coupled with yellow forests and red leaves. The township is filled with sandstone houses and ceramic tile rooftops. Like many other gnome colonies, Solaris' economy was built on woodcrafting, blacksmithing, and leather-making. While Ambrose and his community had good relations with Totonk, he often sells his wares at a much higher price sometimes, which is something Ambrose and his community detests. As for its neighbor, the village of Calarith or Ash Valley, which is stationed on the valley's northern side, is home to fairies led by King Candela. Deep in the Irish Highlands, with its calm lakes, white blossom forests, and half-frozen rivers, Calarith can stay hidden from Lucifer's glaives due to their Celtic magic. This trick protects their people and their king, and has been quite well for over the years. As for the village, it's luxurious. Each home is small and has oak wood walls with slant tile rooftops. Their main attraction is the watermill built 24 years ago. However, it would be a mistake to think this place as nothing more than a precious community. The people of Ash Valley prize themselves on their most significant trade, animal training and weaponsmithing. But the most significant strengths are delicate tailoring and rare crop farming, a rarity in this life. Rambles had better relations in Ash Valley. He isn't necessarily in debt to the Fairy King for long periods, and despite their cuddly appearances, the fairies held everyone to their obligations, for better or for worse. Yet, that's not even Ambrose's central issue. It's the territory next to Ash Valley and Solaris, Berserker country. On the far south side of the isle, a clan of Falada, or werewolves, occupies a massive territory the size of Northern Ireland. With its permanent colony, the family uses it as their base of operations for work as mercenaries and occasionally pirates. To go to either Solaris or Ash Valley risked contact with the werewolves, and that was something Ambrose was not willing to do. He shook his head. Solaris and Ash Valley are too dangerous, not to mention too close to Berserker territory. Ilmore and Malamore are best choices, stated Ambrose. Before speaking further, Barjon jumped in. I would not advise that. What do you mean? Asked Fiona. Ilmore and Malamore are too far away, not to mention you risk running into bandits on the road. We can handle a few bandits, Barjon, said Colum. You clearly have not heard the news. The bandits now work for the Ember Council. With their backing, they can plunder legitimacy. Ambrose did not like the sound of this. The Ember Council is a collection of trade unions from Ireland, Scotland, and England. In the past, Ambrose relied on them to allow safe passage into Ilmore and Malamore. If this is true, what's the alternative? Asked Ambrose. Barjon had an idea. There is a small island not too far off from the coast. near the Telego Sea. It's lush and green, and I have known it to have abundant healing plants and herbs. I've been there many times before. Are there any inhabitants on the island? Asked Fiona. Just a pot of skelkies, said Barjon. Skelkies are mythological beings from the Farsi, Irish, and Scottish folklore. Skelkies live as seals in the sea, but once they come on land, they shed their skin and become human. They usually come on land to seek companionship, but since the Skelkies' true home is always the sea, they never stay too long on land. Ambrose liked the alternative. What's the island's name? Elne. How long would it take to make the journey? Asked Fiona. 2, a day going and a day coming back, said Barjon. All right then, Elne it is. We leave in an hour, so I suggest everyone gets ready. Barjon goes to his room and closes the door. Removing his habit, he places it on his bed. As he gets dressed, he hears a soft voice again, coming from the trunk underneath his bed. Kneeling, he grabs the chest and pulls it out. Inside was a cloth covering the bottom. Removing it, he sees hellfire. The sword was forged from smooth silver metal, with its crossguard shaped like an eagle's wings, and a pommel in the motif of an eagle's head, with etchings of flame around its neck. The sword's hilt is wrapped in firm, dark brown leather for gripping, and its thin blade and exceptional balance allow for nimble feats of swordplay. The sword is locked in its sheath, unable to be drawn. Barjon places a hand on the hilt and feels the temptation to set it free. However, he slowly removes his hand from the weapon. Free me, said a voice. Barjon shakes his head. Never again. Book 2. The Ballad of the Nephilims. Chapter 5. The Corsairs. Ambrose and the others are ready to leave. It is only Barjon they're waiting on. After a few minutes, he emerges from the abbey and makes his way over to the rest of the group. You have the map? Asked Fiona. Barjon nodded his head. And with that, the small band begins their journey to the small island. As they march, Barjon looks around at the surrounding Irish countryside. Despite these dark times, small patches of green and light span remain. Ireland remains the same after Armageddon, with its flatland and beautiful landscapes. Never-ending fields of green, impressive architecture of the past, and luscious fields are just a silver of the charm Ireland still has to offer to the people. As they walked around the green countryside, Barjon feels the incredible morning air pass over his face. I guess this is why many call this place the Emerald Isle, he thought to himself. So Barjon, tell me, how did you and Margret meet? Asked Colum. Barjon takes a moment before answering. Well, I met her when she was very young. My friends and I found her just over 10 years ago. Armageddon Day, replied Colum. Barjon nodded his head. Yeah. We found her in a small factory, hiding from terrible people. On that night, a lot of things changed. Her friends died, as did her family, and since then I made a promise to keep her safe. Barjon pauses mid-thought. If it's all to you, Colum, I'd rather not continue speaking of this. It brings up too much. Colum nodded his head. Say no more, Barjon. I understand. After the brief conversation, Barjon thinks back to the voices at the monastery earlier today. He's not sure if they are real or not, but he can be sure as the voices are angelic. Something he has not heard in a very long time. Just then, Ambrose issues an order. Everyone, off the road now! Hearing the concern in his voice, Barjon and the others quickly get off the road and up a small hill. Getting to the top, Fiona asks why there is a sudden change. Ambrose does not say a word and points back to the road. They soon begin to hear the sound of a small army walking down the road. Barjon and the others recognize who they are from their banner, a black flag with a red drake. They belong to the Draconian Ravagers, an army of dragons and dragon-like creatures who rule over the Isle under the leadership of their king, Zadakoth, the Iron Soul. Ambrose clenches his fist. Of all the beings in this new world, he hates Zadakoth the most. Let him pass. Once they're gone, we'll continue, said Barjon. As the company waits for the army to move on, Barjon still hears a voice telling him to fight. He shakes his head and mutters to himself. Voices again? Asked Margret. She knows what plagues her friend. Barjon shrugs it off. I'm fine. Really, he said to her. He then got the okay from Ambrose to continue on their path. The rest of the journey goes smoothly, yet they remain cautious nonetheless. They arrive at an abandoned port soon after, and, with it, a small rowboat large enough for the whole company. It seemed weathered and worn, but what other choices do they have? Getting in single file, Column cuts the rope, and the travelers sail to a small island to get their supplies. The journey to Elnay is long and straining. Everyone has to row in unison, and the waves do not show mercy. The salty sea splashes onto their faces with an icy sting. As they row across the waters, Ambrose sparks conversation to break the silence. "So tell me, Barjon, how do you know this place?" he asked. "My friends and I visited many years ago on our travels. We kept it a secret from others until now. Funny. I don't think you ever told us about your friends. Who are they?" inquired Fiona. Pausing, Barjon takes a moment to think of an answer. He rarely talks about his past to anyone, save for Margret. "Well, we were soldiers, as well. You can say we were private contractors. We grew up together. Ralph, Yori, Gabe, and I took on the world. Our journeys took us everywhere, all over the globe," he said. "Did Margaret ever meet them?" asked Colm. "I met them 10 years ago, around the same time as Armageddon. They saved me. I'll never forget it," Margaret states. As the team continues rowing, Barjon senses a disturbance. Something's wrong. There's no sound, no joyous hums echoing across the morning mist. The sea is calm. Too calm. "Where are the Skelkies?" said Ambrose. Barjon is unsure. They're usually out and about in the ocean, and they see faint images on the beach with their boat only a few yards off the island. "I see something on the shoreline," yelled Fiona. Nearing the sand, the company quickly jumps off the boat and rushes towards the carcasses. To their horror, they find the remains of several butchered Skelkies. Everyone is horrified. The fins are hacked off to the bone, bodies without skin, showing signs of vicious attacks. "What heartless bastards could do such a thing?" said Colum. Barjon inspects the remains. Kneeling, he notices the bodies had strange branding marks on them. Investigating closer, he concludes that these marks predate their deaths. The marks vary, but two stand out to him. One is the image of a crow, whereas the other resembles a beast with many heads. "Crap, we got a problem," said Barjon. "You know who did this?" asked Margret. "All too well. This is the handiwork of the Hydra Corsairs and their ruthless captain, the Witch." The Hydra Corsairs are one of many pirate groups operating in these waters under Zarkov's protection. He allows them safe passage through his realm. In return, they raid and pillage along the Irish, Scottish, and English coastlines. The captain is Beth England, better known as the Witch. Originally a doctor known for radical medicines before the world's end, she went into hiding, living off her own product to survive. Some say it drove her insane and led her down a path of violence and greed. Regardless if that's true, she created her nickname and uses the organs of her victims to further her medicine-making research. If she's here, then we must find the Skelkies before she has killed them all, said Fiona. Knowing her, she would not kill them all. She would capture a few and take them back to her ship, said Barjon. Is there another spot on the island where the Skelkies live? Questioned Colum. Barjon notes that there is a small pool on the opposite side of the island. It is the Skelkies' other home besides the shoreline. With no time to lose, the company gathers their belongings from the boat and trek to the other side of the island. The island is not large. It's about half the size of Malta in the Mediterranean. A small jungle, minor river, and an underground cavern were home to the Skelkies. Making their way across the island, they make it to the cavern, where from above they see the infamous Hydra ship, along with the Corsairs and its captain. Found another one for you, Captain. Be careful, this one's squirmy, chuckled the Corsair. He hands her a young one, to which he binds its arms to its sides and tosses it with the others. Very good. Zarkov will be pleased. Gather up the men and get ready to sail. Above, the group debates of how to get to the ship before it leaves. We won't make it down in time. If we jump into the water, we're good as dead, said Colum. Margret nodded in agreement. Ambrose sees that the ship is carrying large crates of White Angel. White Angel is a type of fungi known to have dangerous properties. It is an alternative to black powder since it is quickly produced. While a little match can set it off, Gorgon blood is another way to get the same results. I have an idea, said the abbot. If I can board the ship without being seen, I can sink the ship before it leaves. He shows everyone the small vial containing the blood. Where did you get that? Margaret asked. I always take it with me wherever I go, he replied. Do you even know the combination to set off an explosion? Quipped Fiona. It's equal parts. 1 to 1. Guarantee, he stated. Good plan, said Fiona. All on board except Barjon. It won't work, he said. Excuse me? We can't blow up the ship with the Skelkies on board. Gorgon blood is highly corrosive. Give it here, I'll take it. Ambrose furious his brow. Barjon, I know what I'm doing. I've used this vial before, he argued. However, Barjon stands his ground, pointing out another flaw in the plan. You may know the combination, but as I said, Gorgon blood is highly corrosive. If the vial breaks, your body will be no more upon touching it. If that happens, we're all dead. Ambrose let out a sigh in defeat. His friend was right. Very well. Take the vial. We'll cover you from here. Barjon takes the vial and places it in his pocket. Moving away from the team, he slowly and quietly descends the cavern opening. He makes sure his footing is correct, not to lose his stone. Placing his feet on the ground, he hugs the rock wall of the cavern and glances over on his side. He feels the vial jingle in his clothes. Although mortal, his tolerance for blood, should it break, is high thanks to Uriel. But that will only last for a moment. Crouching, he cautiously makes his way to the ship. Most of the Corsairs cover the surrounding area. To avoid any unwanted attention, he kept to the shadows. Using his angel training, he hides in the tall grass and slips behind fallen rubble and rocks. After making decent progress, he hides behind a stone slab a few feet from the ship. Peeking his head over the top, he sees the crates aboard the boat and the skulkies below the deck. He has to save the skulkies first, but how? Though in truth his skills easily surpass theirs by far, he wanted to avoid showing his powers. But they are still looking for survivors of the Watchers, and he enjoys hiding from procuring eyes. With no other option, Barjon gets up from his hiding spot and announces his presence to the pirates. "Hey, Jolly Rogers, you forgot somebody," he shouted. His outburst catches their attention. They then pull out their guns and aim it at him. One pirate manages to walk up to Barjon, pointing his pistol directly at his forehead. "That'll be enough, love. Follow me," said the man. Barjon places his hands over his head and walks toward the ship. Following obediently, he and the pirate walk the plank up to the boat. He feels the pirates shove him forward, although it's not necessary. Getting aboard, he is taunted by the others, while some go further and laugh at him. Soon one young pirate calls from the crow's nest, "Oi, Captain, we got a live one here." Suddenly, in a cloud of yellow dust, a woman wearing a tricorn hat, red scarf, and silver hair appears before Barjon. Her necklace is in the design of a skull and sits around her neck, and a sword and pistol hung at her hips. Caressing her cheeks and his, the woman smiles. "Barjon, so good of you to drop in," said the witch. And with that, viewers and listeners, we conclude. And I think now I'll move these episodes to Friday. So every Friday, I will have these episodes up instead of the weekend. So I will see you all next Friday, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode.